First of all, I want to welcome everybody. Thank you so much for attending. We are very glad you're here today because what we're about to share is a major leap forward, not just for our platform, but for how destinations genuinely connect with visitors in a smarter way and a more seamless way. Today's session is all about innovation in motion, from a slick new widget redesign and refactored tech under the hood to powerful command console upgrades. And yes, that magic word that's been floating out there, AI, all of the AI powered tools that are about to transform the way you plan, manage, and elevate your destination's content. I am the director of marketing here at Visit Widget, and I will be the moderator of this presentation. That's me in the sunglasses. I got to update that profile picture. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Justin Huffman. We've got an amazing team today that I am super excited to introduce to you. So, first up, our rock star product designer. She has ridden her bike across the entire country. Hailing from Austin, Texas, she turns dreams into reality, crafting intuitive user experiences. Jillian Ferris.
Hello.
Thanks, Jillian. Next up, our director of account management. She can be found in her van near some steep pitch she's itching to climb. With Starlink on board, she's the voice of our clients and the glue that makes this all work in the real world. Katie Bruland.
Hello.
Also joining us, our code slinging guru, hailing from Austin, Texas, and splitting his time in the vibrant streets of Mexico City. He balances debugging sessions with downward dogs. A certified yogi and the mastermind behind our tech, meet Director of Development Oliver Martin. No worries, Oliver, don't unmute. And last, there you go. And last but definitely not least, our co-founder and product manager, rooted in Austin, Texas. He can be found in Florida in the winter, Montana, New Mexico in the summers. He's the big picture thinker and the brains behind the build, Eric Dahlke.
Hey everyone.
As some of you may have noticed, we have enabled Q&A, so please feel free to shoot us any questions that you have, and we'll try to get them as we're going through the presentation. Of course, we'll save plenty of time at the end for the Q&A. You can just punch over to the next slide for me, Eric. So what we're going to cover today, this is the agenda, the widget refactor and redesign. That'll be covered by Jillian. The next portion of it is going to be our command console upgrades, which will be covered by Miss Katie. And then finally, our AI trip builder preview, which will be covered by Eric. So get ready to do a deep dive into what's next, what's new, and how these updates are going to supercharge your destination's digital game. Let's go ahead and jump in. I'm going to hand the ball over to Jillian.
All right. Thank you, Justin, for that great intro. I'm excited to be here with you guys today to share all the new updates that we've made to the widget. First, I'm going to jump into a little bit of background. We launched Visit Widget with a goal to help you better connect with travelers. And in the years since, we've added so many great features and capabilities that the platform began to outgrow its original design. We knew the product needed to become more flexible, more intuitive, and more future-proof. So with this redesign, we took a step back and reimagined the whole thing, not just to give it a fresh coat of paint, but to make it smarter, more scalable, and more useful for both travelers and your team. So behind the scenes, we completely rebuilt the widget's code base. We decoupled the front end of the widget from the inline CMS and admin tools, which means we can now move faster, release updates more often, and build new features with less friction. At the same time, we approached the redesign strategically, not just from a technical angle, but through the lens of the user. We ran a thorough testing process with dozens of people who had never seen the platform before. This process gave us a fresh perspective on what travelers want, what they're thinking about when they plan a trip, and what problems they encounter along the way. We use this data, along with our knowledge and your needs, to help shape the redesign you'll see today. So the result is a smarter, more scalable platform that delivers a better experience across devices and sets us up to keep evolving quickly. All right, let's jump in. So the widget is accessible from the same launch methods as before. So imagine a user is checking out Sonoma County. What's going on there? They would click on this launch button to open the widget and see a new updated onboarding flow. We updated the onboarding flow to introduce the concept of planning a trip. So our testing showed that the widget is a great tool for discovery and exploration, but it's also a great planning tool. It was just getting missed a little bit. So right off the bat, we're inviting users to create a plan to get that frame of reference for the purpose of the platform. And they can opt in or out at this point, but we still have their attention here. So the first step is just name your plan. So let's say Jillian's weekend getaway. We will be adding additional steps to this, like setting plan dates here in the future. So after I create my plan, we have a confirmation and one more screen to draw attention to our main call to action for this planning flow. To encourage people to add things to their plan, we're showing them the add button. So let's go. Now we've got this nice big map view with the list on the left side. We've got our menu items up here, and then above that, we have the new nav bar with an Explore and My Plan in different tabs. So in our user testing, we learned that there are two types of users: people who are here to explore points of interest, and those who really want to start planning their trip and building an itinerary. To help facilitate those two kind of dichotomous approaches, we put these in two separate tabs. So we've got an Explore tab and a My Plan tab. And this will allow for those users to kind of focus on those goals better and to increase velocity in our functionality that we're going to bring to the My Plan tab in the future, which includes multiple plans, the ability to have multiple plans. The search bar also got a great glow up over here. If I search wineries, we have images showing up for these with their names and categories. And then we've got our menu items. Previously, our menu items were constrained to the side just in the list panel. We've removed that constraint. So now you can have more menu items. The labels can be as long as you want. If this does go wider than the browser width, it can horizontally scroll. So we have a lot more flexibility there. You'll also notice there's more map space. This was something we learned from our user testing. Users love to click around on the map and see what's here, what can I learn? And so we took this categories panel and we put it into the filters menu. This more closely associates it with the items that it's filtering, and now it works like you would typically think a filters menu would work. Once you make a selection, then the filters are applied. So now we have a filtered list. In our list view, we have a few updates here as well. We have removed the text from over the images, and that just lets the text and the images shine a lot better and communicate better on their own. It also gives us more flexibility with how much data and what other additional controls we can add to each listing. Another one of my favorite updates is that we really made this add button stand out. We added the word add. I know that seems obvious, but in our tests, this was one of the key drivers to increasing the engagement with the planning flows that we found. Let's take a look at the listing view. So you can notice right away that this view no longer opens over the map. We wanted to maintain our nice big map view. We also, this also helped us remove the duplicity of showing the photo in the list and the photo in the entity. We have a more modern content hierarchy here and with more flexibility in the layout for adding data enhancements that are coming down the road and custom action buttons. And we've got all of your share options here in a share menu. So let's add this to our plan. All right. So this release brings multi-day planning to the widget. We had multi-day planning in the apps. Now it's here in the widget. We will prompt users to add dates to their plan while they're building their itinerary. So they can select dates from the calendar. They can just pick a number of days if they don't know their dates yet, or they can skip this and we won't prompt them again. So I'm going for the weekend. Let's select those dates. At this point, I can go ahead and add my items to a specific day, or if I don't know exactly what I'm doing yet, I can put it in unscheduled and adjust that later. Let's go look at a place to eat. And let's look at a spa. I definitely want to go to a spa. All right. Now we have, as before, we love to encourage account creation, but we have a nice update to this auth flow. So all a user has to do at this point is enter an email address, and the backend will automatically detect if they have an account or not. If they do have an account, they'll receive an email with a magic link to sign in. If they don't have an account, they can finish setting up their account by entering the required information that you set up for them, opting into newsletters, and at that point they'll receive the magic link email. So this is a much more streamlined solution to what was kind of a tricky flow. So let's go look at the plan view. We've got some nice updates here as well. We have the routing information showing up in between the stops, which I really love. We've got a type ahead for selecting a starting point, which looks like that on the map. This one is really great for taking your plan on the go. We've updated the routing information. So previously we had this overlay with some small text overlaid on the map, but now you can see your turn-by-turn directions between each stop in your plan. We've got all the great share options, QR code, and a way for your users to email you to get recommendations. And we have a new edit mode. So this shows a simplified view of the plan that makes the controls here really stand out. So they can drag and drop, you can remove items, you can clear a whole day, which sends those stops to unscheduled. And if you need a fresh start, you can delete all of your stops all at once. And with a mobile, and since the widget is now responsive, which is just the best, users can easily take their plans on the go. So with a mobile first design across every view, your destination is now more accessible and more powerful on any screen. And that's the new Visit widget, cleaner, faster, and more user-friendly. And a big part of what makes this all possible is that we've moved the editing tools out of the widget and into the admin portal. So now I'll hand it over to Katie, who's going to show you how we've upgraded the command console.
Thanks, Jillian.
Thanks, Jillian. Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining today. So I am going to walk you through new content-related features within the command console. So to start, you'll want to make sure that you're logged into the widget with admin level credentials. If you do not have that, just reach out to your account manager. Once logged in, you'll see your initials up here on the top right. So you'll notice we have done away with that create button because everything is all in one place within the command console. To get to the command console, you're going to click your name up here to the right and then hit command console. From there, to get to all of the content related items, you're going to see this navigation bar here at the top. And then over here on the left, you've got another navigation bar. All of these new features that we're going to go over today is under listings. So to start here at the top, you've got a search option. Now this search bar does support all different listing types. So anything with wine in it, you're going to see this is a place, an event, if it were a tour or a goal. Your new create button is over here to the right. So if I click create, I've got the option to create all my different listing types, a place, an event, a tour, a goal, or an ad unit. So if moving down under places, so this is going to be your list view of your places. On each of these different menus, you're going to see published, unpublished, and deleted. And this just allows you to toggle through all the different status of the listings. You can see the name of the listing here. You've got categories. The categories are going to be displayed right here if you just hover your mouse over it. You can see the published state, the status here, and then your priority level. So now I'm going to click into a listing. Now this listing is syncing in from the CRM or CMS. So you'll see this notification bar up here. All of these fields are grayed out because this is a synced listing. If you needed to update, let's say the name or something in the description, you'll want to do that in your CRM or CMS. If this was a listing that you created in admin mode of the widget here in the command console, then you would have the ability to update these fields here. We do support multi-language translations, so if that's something that you want to implement, just reach out to your account manager. All right, next item on the navigation bar is going to be the action bar. Phone number and website, since this is a synced listing, these fields are grayed out. Again, if you need to update these, you'll want to do it in your CRM or CMS. I'll toggle over to the widget and click into a listing. This is going to be your action bar here. So you now have the ability to add up to 2 more action items on that action bar. Maybe this listing is a restaurant and they want their menu added, or they want their reservation booking link added. You could do that here. All you need to do, click the plus button. You would enter the name in here, your URL, select your icon, and then you would hit save. Next navigation item is going to be categories. So you do have the option to search for a category. If the category that you would like is not in here, all you need to do is reach out to your account manager or support@visitwidget.com, and we can create a new category for you. You'll see these 2 category assignments that are grayed out. That's because these are assigned in your CRM or CMS. So if that needs to be edited, you just need to do that within your CRM or CMS. You do have the ability to assign more categories within the widget and apps. To do that, you're just going to click them. You'll see them highlight red. You click them again to deselect that. And then remember, just click save between all of your different actions. Media is going to be the area that you can upload audio or video to the listing. It gives you the file types here that we support. The image, again, is if this is a synced listing, update that in your CRM or CMS. Check-ins is going to be the area if this listing is associated with a goal or a challenge. Some of you call them passports. This is the area that you can add the check-in method to that listing. To add that, you would just enable it, toggle it over, it'll turn blue. This is for proximity. So the minimum check-in radius is still the same, 500 meters. If you wanted to edit that, you would just populate that field there. To add the objective code check-in, again, toggle that over, and this is where you would enter your code here. If you're using the QR code method, you do have to have objective code enabled to enable the QR code. And then from there, you can use a third-party website to create that QR code. And then last on the navigation bar is going to be map layer. So this is where you have the ability to upload map layer files to a listing. Those of you who have trails enabled that are always sending us all of the KMZ files to upload to your hiking trails, you now have the ability to do that on your own. Shows right here, we support KML, KMZ, or GeoJSON files, and then you would just upload it and then hit save. Events, I'm not going to go over too much within events, just because it's pretty similar as it was in the previous design. Again, you have the different published states. You've got the list view of your events with the name, start date, end date, the category assignments, and the status of it. If something needs to be edited on an event on the name and it's syncing in from your website, again, edit that in your CRM or CMS, and the automatic sync will pick up that update. All right, next is tours. Again, published states are up here. The set order, this is new over here. So if I click that, this gives me the ability to drag and drop the order of tours on the listing view within the widget and apps. You just click these 3 bars, get it into the order you would like, and then you would hit save. You can see the category that a tour is assigned to. If there's multiple, you've got them here. You can see how many stops you have on this tour, if it is published, and the last 2 is updated. Now, if I click into a tour, this is where you can now, if you need to edit it, this one is already created. If we needed to change the name, you've got it here, the description. Again, action bar gives you the option to add up to 2 more action items there. You've got your category assignments. The ones selected will be highlighted here. Media, again, is where you can upload your audio video files. Images as well, if you're going to upload a cover photo for that. Stops is going to be all of the stops that you have on this tour. So you can see here at the top, we've got 5 stops on here. If we wanted to add another stop, you just click the add stop button. You've got 2 different ways you can do this. You can search for the stop. You can also use these filters. In this case, I'm just going to search. If you're adding multiple stops, you can also make multiple selections. When I hit save, you can see this is now 8 stops. If I scroll down, I can see those 3 stops that I just added. If I want to remove those stops, you just hit this minus button on the left. If you need to reorder the order of these stops, that's what these dots over here on the right-hand side are going to be. You just click, drag and drop the order of those, come up here and hit your save button. If you have a map layer file that you would like to upload for the tour, this is again the area that you would do that. And then this eyeball icon up here, if you click that, this is going to be how you publish and unpublish the tour. Next is going to be goals. Some of you, it might say challenges on here. Right here, you can see again the list view of all your different goals. These first few are going to be static goals, static starter goals. If you are interested in enabling these, again, reach out to your account manager. You can see the category goals are the goal is assigned to. You can see how many objectives are on that goal and its published state. If I click into the goal, similar to tours, name and description here, your action bar if you wanted to add some more, your category assignments, media is going to be your cover photo, and then objectives are going to be those stops and the goals. So you can see there's 3 required to complete this goal, and there's 19 available for the user to choose from. If you needed to add an objective, you would use this button here. If you wanted to remove one, it's the same as tours. You would hit that minus sign. And if you want to drag and drop the order, it is again the dots to the right-hand side. Settings is going to allow you to adjust some of the goal related items like the meters for the check-in radius. You've got the option to require login to complete the objective. You've got the option to require login to redeem goal. Once you create a goal, it does not allow you to edit the rule type or the required number of check-ins. You would just need to reach out to your account manager or email support@visitwidget.com if you need to make an adjustment on an area that you don't have access to. Down here is where you've got your badges, your inactive, active state. If you need to delete those, that's what this trash can icon is. This is how you enable reward redemption. Once something is enabled, it's always going to turn blue from that gray state. And then you've got your goal completion notification. So you've got your message title and the body here. To create a new goal, this is where you would use that feature here. So that create button that used to live right on the widget view, this is where it is now. So whenever you're trying to create a new goal or a tour, this is where that create button lives. And then last on the navigation bar, we've got add units. So now you can see if your list of ads here, again, name. If you've got a start date on an end date on the ad, maybe you're using that ad space to promote a big event you've got coming up. You don't want to have to remember to log back in and delete that ad. You can set an end date and that ad will automatically unpublish itself on that end date. You can see the categories associated with the ads and the status. If I click into the ad, you can see the name of the ad, the website when that ad is clicked. This would be the URL that it would take the user to. And then this is where you would set the start date and end date. You've got categories here that you can assign to that ad. And then the media is going to be where you upload that graphic. Again, the ideal sizing across the platform for all images is going to be 960 by 600. You can also set the order of your ads, just like in the others. There's only one active right now, otherwise there would be a list view and you just drag and drop and hit save. Alrighty, and then we will have some new training resources on our website and YouTube channel that will help walk you all through everything we just went through. But again, reach out to your account manager or support@visitwidget if you have any questions.
Awesome. Great job, Katie. Thanks for taking us through all of that. And you as well, Jillian. And before I get started on the AI components and how we're incorporating into the platform, I just want to give a big shout out to our dev team for moving at this insane velocity to be able to release this much stuff and some of the stuff that we've got coming up. So they've been working really hard with Jillian, with our design team, and have really put together some amazing output. So go ahead.
I was going to say there are a couple questions that popped up that I think would be valuable to answer at this time. If we can answer those, just since they're pertinent to this specific section. So one of them is, are we still able to duplicate a listing within the widget? For example, if one business part of multiple challenges. The first part of that is, or the second part of that I'll say is, I would highly advise if you're doing stuff like that with challenges to really look at migrating over to goals. There's a lot more robust functionality within the goals. So I would reach out, speak to one of our support team members to have a conversation about looking at migrating over to goals as opposed to challenges. So you have a better functioning, tool, given the multitude that you're using it on. But the first part is the duplication of a listing still supported within the command console.
Yes. So on any listing, there's a bar in the top right-hand corner where you can see the status of the listing, the ability to edit the listing, and also duplicate the listing. It's not present right now, but will be present within a day or so. It was one thing that we basically hid from the front end for the purpose of today's webinar, but will be there shortly and included in the training videos.
Awesome. And then the other one that was pertinent to this section that I'd like to ask is just where would we be adding the ads within the command console?
So within the command console, you're going to select content and then listings. And once you're on that listings table, you'll see in kind of the toggle bar there's an add units section. And that's where you'd go to configure and edit any existing ads or add new ones.
Perfect. Okay, cool. Thank you, Eric. I'll save some of these questions for the end too. Thank you.
Great. Is my screen coming through for everyone?
Yeah.
Yes,
Okay.
sir.
Cool. So a couple quick follow-ups on the command console. We do have a preview coming soon. So on the right-hand side of each of the listing pages, event pages, tours, you'll see basically a real-time preview of the item that you're editing. So you can see what kind of changes, how they're going to look before they're published to the front end. The other thing I want to point out is for smaller geofenced areas, the default is 50 meters as a minimum, but if for some reason you need more of a micro geofence, just reach out to support@visitwidget.com or your account manager, and we can help you configure something with a smaller area. So getting into AI, I'm super excited to show this to you guys today, especially with everybody talking about AI and how they're incorporating it. We've been using it for quite a long time for other purposes. Our dev team uses AI in their programming practices. We use AI for all kinds of content generation and even simple questions and calculations that need to be run. But the way we decided to use it was to start out by really doing a lot of extensive research into how it would benefit our end users and our clients the most. And so we took a multi-pronged approach. And the first phase of that approach is data enrichment. What I mean by data enrichment is, there are a lot of cases where we see the client might not have the hours of operation in their feed for a particular business or member in their destination. They may have a pixelated image or a truncated description that's not really a great representation of what that business offers in terms of services or products. And so the data enrichment that we implemented basically takes the listings and events that we're syncing on a daily basis from each client's CRM or CMS, and we're then running those through an LLM, Gemini to be specific, to enhance certain fields that are either missing or not fully populated. So imagine, we can find a restaurant and find all of the hours of operation that they're available or open on, which days they're open. And that gives us a lot better data set to use when we're generating an AI itinerary, an AI-based itinerary, because we don't want to send someone to a restaurant, on a Sunday when they're not open. We want to give them the most accurate and reliable results. So the data enrichment was the first phase. We do have the ability to use various Gemini models as well as an option to switch over to OpenAI, but that'll be on a per client basis to determine which of those models is going to serve your data set the best. The second phase was to take our enriched data and create a user-friendly AI trip builder, kind of a query on Rails, if you will, where people can make minimal selections, just basically their time frame, their preferences, their travel group, and then help generate that itinerary for them, but doing so in a way where we were conforming to the client's actual attractions, the destinations, members, and local businesses, and not sourcing stuff from other areas or places that we don't necessarily want to promote. We want to make sure that our results are matching the client data set. And then the third phase, which I'll give you guys a preview of today, is an actual free-form chatbot that's not only going to deliver textual-based results, but it'll also offer an enhanced map view based on what the query is that's entered. So we'll basically be able to give someone a contextual view of the results on a map and a list instead of just text-based results. So I'm super excited about that. So we'll go ahead and dive in here. So for data enrichment, the items that we're talking about enhancing are hours of operation, days open. We also are able to get popular times from various services, so we can see when a place is most popular or least popular, depending on that person's preferences, and recommended at certain times. The descriptions, and then of course, images, websites, and phone numbers. And then in a subsequent phase, we're also looking at the ability to pull weather forecasts. So if someone prefers outdoor activities versus indoor, we can then look at the upcoming forecast for their travel dates and recommend activities that match their preferences, either indoor or outdoor. So what you're seeing on screen here is the staging environment for Sonoma County. And Jillian already showed this nice new onboarding flow, but in this case, you're also seeing this option where, if I'm not sure where to start, it offers me the ability to help build my plan. Now, if I close out of that, there are multiple entrance points to the AI trip builder. So for example, right up here in the navigation next to sign in, there's a help me plan option. Additionally, if I have no items in my plan, there's a help me plan option that shows up here as well. And those will be similar entrance points for the AI trip builder in the apps as well. They will release at the same time for the clients that decide to leverage this functionality. So I'll go ahead and just, click help me plan. And what it does is pulls up a very simplistic modal where I can select the dates for my travel. So I'm going to say, I'm going to head out there on the 13th and I'll stay through the weekend. I can hit next. And at that point, we can move on to the next option. So who am I traveling with? Maybe it's just me. Maybe I'm going with my partner or a group. And if I'm going with a group, it's nice for us to know if there are kids in the group to recommend, correlated activities. So I'll hit yes. And then at this point, what you're seeing here is a new concept that we'll be working with each client that takes advantage of this. And this is what we call preferences. And preferences are ultimately a culmination of multiple categories that match each preference. We don't want to show someone, 150 different categories at this point and make them click 17 different boxes to figure out what they want to do. So the preferences are ones that are kind of an umbrella for certain categories that are already assigned to certain listings, events, and tours. So in this case, I know that there's all kinds of hiking and biking out in Sonoma, so I'm going to go ahead and select outdoor recreation. And then I hit create plan. And at this point, it's basically going through our data set that's been previously enriched, looking at my preferences, my travel time frame, my travel group, and generating an itinerary for my weekend stay. So you can see here, this is my pre-planned itinerary. It's already made the full round trip. It's showing me the 3 dates of my plan with the first day by default. It's got an auto-generated introductory description. And so each day has its own description for what I'll be doing. For each of these items, I can click on it to get more detail about that particular listing. I can toggle through each day to see what it's recommending for me. And I can, of course, save the plan that it created for me to my plan. At that point, I'm now viewing my plan in the nicely new redesigned widget, and I still have the ability to edit or modify my plan. So if I decide maybe I had a couple too many things, that were recommended for day one, I can remove items from my plan. I can hop back over to Explore and add additional items. So it doesn't limit people from being able to kind of organically navigate throughout the widget, filter based on their interests, and add other items, but it gives them a great starting point. And it's only going to get better with time, especially as the queries get more intelligent in terms of what we're prompting them up front and what we learn about them throughout their session. So that is a quick overview of the AI Trip Builder. A couple notes on that. We are releasing this to the first 20 clients that reach out and show interest to get started on it with us. It's not a completely free feature like the widget redesign. There are costs associated with the different AI queries that we're running and the data enrichment depending on the amount of listings and data that we're enriching and the frequency in which we're running that process. But for the first 20 that reach out, we want to work with each of those to get these set up and really use you guys as our first beta test group to see how we can improve upon it even further. The next piece is our chatbot prototype. So this was the phase 2 component. And the launch date for this is June 16. So there is some setup work required to create the preferences and correlate them to the categories on a per client basis. So we do need to know pretty quickly if somebody on the meeting wants to take advantage of this. So you can just reach out to your account manager or support@visitwidget.com. But as we were building this out, we realized, that the next level on this was going beyond that query on Rails with just a couple selections and really giving people more of a virtual assistant that they could interact with free-form text to create exactly what they're looking for and help them build upon their planning experience. So I'm going to go ahead and pop over to the prototype for our inline chatbot. And this chatbot is going to be accessible not only from within the widget, the kiosk, and the apps that we already provide to clients, but also externally on client websites as a new entry point into the widget experience. So what you're seeing here is basically a kind of a different layout. We've got a plan my trip option. When selected, it opens up a small chatbot window, and this will be predefined text on a per client basis that you can modify as needed. So you can kind of, snazz it up with something about your destination. And I can go ahead and enter a question, whatever free form query I select. And it's basically going to give me, at that point, a pre-planned itinerary. If the user just says, plan a trip for me, we're going to have subsequent prompts, auto prompts that come back asking them, we're happy to help you, but please tell us some of your interest. When will you be traveling there? A couple of things to get additional data points to make sure that we're giving them the best experience and actually generating an itinerary that's relevant for them. But in this case, we did get enough information on the initial query. It loads up the different results along with the correlated map-based view. I can view the entirety of my plan. We're also prompting them if they want recommendations for a place to stay nearby. So when someone generates one of these chat-based itineraries, we know if they didn't include lodging in their plan, or they didn't include dining locations. So we'll have kind of logic-based prompts that are fired back, dependent on what we know is missing from a typical plan, so that we can easily give them additional information for other POIs or stops that we think would match based on the items we returned previously. You've also got the option to open the full planner at this point, which would take you into the full widget with the ability to modify your plan through chat inputs as opposed to manual adding and removing of items. So this is super exciting stuff. I'd love to chat about it further, but I do want to save some time for Q&A at the end. So Justin, I'll pass the ball back to you.
Awesome. Well, that wraps up our presentation. There was a ton of really cool products that we were able to introduce here, and just a whole new workflow within the widget as well as the command console. So we've covered quite a bit today. That widget redesign, the powerful upgrades in the command console, the AI tools, all of that is really focused on how we're trying to help reshape the visitor experience in your destination, and how you as a destination can control that visitor experience and really leverage that to the fullest. Now this is the point where we'd love to hear from you. I do have a few questions that I'm going to go ahead and open up. I just want to reiterate one thing that Eric said is we are going to go ahead and open up the first 20 spots for some of our folks that are interested in AI. The way that you're going to do that is please don't bombard the Q&A section with that. Just email us over, whomever your POC is, at Visit Widget, email over, or email support@visitwidget.com. And one of our support team members will get you into the correct hands to be able to answer questions regarding AI and see if you want to be one of our early adopters for AI. Which should be rolling out, fully later this month once we get everything, once we get the early adopters in. So do want to say that, but I do want to open this up for Q&A. So I'm going to go ahead and start reading a couple of these that have popped up that I didn't answer. I answered quite a few of these, about 17 of these via textual answers. So if you want to read what some of the other people have put in here, please hop in there and look. But first one here is, will there be an update to the user section and being able to filter down more by check-ins, etc.? So the short of the answer is, a lot of the focus on the command console was pulling off the admin functionality off of the actual widget itself from the inline CMS and placing it into the command console. We are rolling this out iteratively. And so future focus is going to be more in-depth analytics, having the check-in reports and some of those other reports within the user section, so that you do have access to more of that information on demand instead of having to reach out to your account manager. But with that being said, please continue to leverage us any way you need. That's what we're here for. That's what we're here to support you in doing. Is anything you want to add to that, Eric? Or do you feel like that's good to go?
So there will be a check-in section under users, where you can go and see, how many people have checked in at certain locations. We have already released the ability for people to for admins to insert check-ins on users in the command console, and that's been there for a while. So if we don't already have a video on that process, Justin, that'd be good to add to the list, for anybody that's struggling to get a check-in at a particular location.
Absolutely. Just making sure I didn't miss anything. All right. This one we answered. Okay. Will AI override existing data that got sent in or just fill in missing pieces? If it does overwrite, how does AI know the source it used is correct? For my businesses, I would know where the accurate source data may be, whether their Facebook page or website. So really just more around how that AI implementation will work and how it knows whether to overwrite existing data or what that workflow looks like.
Yeah, so the first order of priority with kind of the data enrichment is to fill in gaps, right? So if there are no hours of operation, we're going to run that job to look for hours of operation for all the entities that we have in the system. And it'll be on a client by client basis where we say, hey, do you want us to run this for descriptions? And also, what are the results? What's the output of the process? And whether or not we want to persist those improvements, if it's descriptions or things like that. So there will be, variability in how we determine if we've got a better description. Maybe if something only has, between 10 to 15 words, and we want to look for descriptions that are between 20 to 50 words or 20 to 100 words. So there's a lot of kind of toggles and adjustments that can be made when we run the data enrichment on each of the independent fields. And so it's not just going to overwrite your data. It's not going to wipe out what you've worked hard to create.
Awesome. Thank you. Megan, this is one I've got from you is can you explain the difference between a tour itinerary goal and passport? So we use a lot of these words interchangeably within our system. We have what are called tours and goals. Tours are often referred to by clients as tours, itineraries, trips, ideas. Think of these as self-guided, pre-built inspirations for folks while they're traveling to your market. There's no check-in methodology required at the actual listing itself. It's just a list of ideas or places to help inspire folks when they travel to your destination. So that's what a tour is. You're the local expert. You're the one that's providing knowledge of all the best breakfast burrito joints in your place, or maybe the best place to get a happy hour margarita, something like that, or the best sightseeing places across your community. A passport, a goal, as we call it in our system, or as a lot of folks will call it, is a passport, is a gamified experience. So the gamified experience allows a user to go out to a preset of a number of objectives and actually check in at those locations. They check in with three different check-in methodologies. It could be geolocation based, code based, QR code based, or a combination of the code based, QR code based, and geolocation. So again, the major difference, tour is kind of a preset itinerary of ideas that you're helping to inspire travel, whereas a goal is the gamification component. When we see folks use goals, those are always going to be at the top of the popular items list. People absolutely love the gamification component. It does really, really well, followed closely behind by tours. So I hope that answers that question. Can we have an idea of the fees for the AI options? How much would it be? So for this is where I would ask for you to reach out to support. There's a lot of variables at play here when we're talking about AI. So we really need to understand the depth and breadth of what you're trying to do and achieve so that we can give you an accurate answer on that. Because there again, there's a lot of variables there. Eric can touch on it a little bit more, but yeah, it's best to reach out to us. We can have the initial meeting and then give you a lot more concrete answer.
Yeah, and the costs are dependent on the data set that we're enriching and the frequency of enrichment, as well as end user queries for itineraries and chats that come through. So understanding your data set is the first and foremost, and then also understanding your current analytics and how much usage we're going to see with the AI functionality within the widget and the apps and from the chatbot. But with the first 20 clients that sign up, we're going to do this in a way that's affordable for those, because we want to kind of use them to help figure out how to improve upon it, but also figure out the appropriate pricing structure that makes it achievable for everybody to take advantage of.
Awesome. Thanks, Eric. Are the system instructions and MCP tools customizable? Which Gemini model is used?
There's multiple Gemini models that we can use. We can even switch over to an OpenAI model. Oliver, do you recall which Gemini model specifically is being used by default?
Not specifically, but I mean, they're always coming out with new ones too. So we'll be adapting as the climate changes.
Yeah, so one of the things that we did on the back end for data enrichment is actually we can select different models and run the process and then report back on what data was enriched or improved upon, and then rerun it with another model. So there's basically a pretty simple drop-down selector for us to select which model we want to run with, and those models come at different costs per query. So it's something that we wanted to, if we want to achieve data enrichment with something more affordable, we can. If a client wants something more powerful, we can use a newer model.
Awesome. Thanks, Eric. I appreciate that. Thank you, Oliver. I understand we can still use the CRM and feed into VW. Will that phase out eventually? This means we have to enter all our data anew. Is there a bulk import? Hey, Jeff, so good question. No, we don't have any plan to phase out the feeds. We just want to give you additional functionality and control within the command console. But if you have a website, I always tell this to my clients anytime I'm working with anyone. We know you only have two hands and you wear a lot of hats, so our goal is to make your life as easy as possible. If you can maintain one database and feed that into visit widget, we want to continue to be able to make that ease of use and functionality there for you. So there's absolutely zero plan to phase that out. This is just the additional benefits that we're adding with some of these functions. In the event listing section, can you guys add an option to filter out past events? Katie or Eric?
Yeah, so that list view by default should be upcoming events, and then you would see like past events as deleted or expired events. So if that's not what you saw today, Craig, that's what you will see shortly.
How will these updates impact the app end user side? So what we worked on was the widget and the mobile browser version of the widget here. So what there should not be any impacts to the UX or UI on the apps at this time. This is specifically focused on the widget and the browser, mobile browser version of the widget.
The widget redesign, that is 100% accurate. The AI trip builder will be introduced to the apps at the same time as the widget.
Good catch there. It was a one-track mind. All right, let's see. Also, these hotels all have different PMS CRM systems. Can yours? Oh, Sue. Okay. I'll answer that. I'll type that answer to you, Sue. You mentioned users could opt in. You mentioned users could opt into our newsletter. How do we do that? So, Joanne, when somebody signs into the platform, whether it be on the widget or within the app, there's actually a checkbox there that's auto checked that says "Keep me informed," I think is what it says. And if they don't uncheck that within the user report on the command console, you'll see a newsletter column. On that column, you can see who has opted in or opted out of your newsletter.
But we can also make it so that it's opted out by default, I think is maybe what the question was. So that is configurable from the account managers, whether or not it's checked by default or not.
Gotcha. Can the AI chat answer other questions besides planning using the data from our website or the info of the various listings?
Yeah, so we will restrict it to be trip planning related queries. So if someone's trying to use the chatbot on a destination's website to generate their homework essay or something, it will, basically reply back to them and say, this doesn't seem like it's about planning a trip for your weekend. Um, but it will have the ability to go beyond the listings and events that we're syncing from. So that's one of the initial data sources that we're using for data enrichment, but we will also plan to have the ability to include external data sources. So for example, if a client has a depth of information on their website about hiking and biking, and someone poses a question about hiking and biking, we can direct them to that section of the website. So that will be an addition to the command console where you'll actually be able to configure for certain common queries that are coming in, what information you'd want to return to them, as opposed to letting AI pull from the enriched data set.
Okay, I think is it possible to provide a process, feed, et cetera, to push data enrichment back to our website, for example, hours of operation. So if you're asking from, I think it's asking from the widget back over to the website.
Yeah, that's just going to be dependent on each CRM and CMS provider as to whether or not they could then consume the enriched data set that we've created, because there would be basically a two-way communication required. And since we're starting with the source data that's coming from CRM or CMS, then we enrich it. We'd then have to pass that back in, to the CRM or CMS to be posted. So it's definitely possible, but it would depend on the different providers and how accessible their systems are.
Are we now able to add events to tours that have multiple dates? For example, if there's a festival happening, can the event added show 6/4 to 6/9 instead of displaying as single dates, as a single date?
So that really just depends on the structure of the recurring event as it's coming to us from the feed. Like we already have that capability now. If the feed is set up to send us unique occurrences for that event, as opposed to an event that spans multiple days. And so, Justin, do you know which client that was related to? We can make a note.
San Antonio, it was Shelley.
So make a note and we'll check and see if there's something we can do on that for them.
Email me, Shelley. Can the chatbot be trained to filter out lodging that is not affiliated with your CVB?
Yeah, so that's one of the key constraints within our design, was to basically limit the results to only return that which we're pulling from a client's data set. So whatever hotels, whatever lodging, whatever restaurants are coming from your website that you're already promoting. So we're not going to, return a hotel in a different county or a different city, or a restaurant in a different location that you're not promoting within the AI trip builder. It will only be your data set being returned.
Okay. Will challenges ever allow for multi-level check-ins? Currently, we have 4 levels for each challenge that gives a reward. These are now each listed as separate challenges, and is causing confusion with people checking in and completing the form, as they may have enough check-ins for the 3rd level, but keep doing the 1st level form.
So we do have big plans for challenges and goals, but as that's not related to the topics of today, maybe we can reach out to Wendy directly and help her with.
Yep, perfect. I get the impression that itineraries are created on a PC browser. Won't that exclude a huge number of visitors versus phone-based? Paul, if you could follow up maybe with an additional question just to kind of clarify there. But the itineraries that are created within the system are usable whether they're on, whether on the widget, the mobile browser version of the widget, or Android or iOS apps. I don't know if that answers your question.
The widget is fully responsive now. So if you go to your widget from your smartphone, you will see the same widget that we showed on screen, but in responsive mode. So it's everything, all the functionality is available on whatever size device, and it scales responsively based on the width of device that you're using.
Okay, will we be able to load a challenge passport and then mass set the parameters versus doing it per business listing? Joe, I think you might be talking, we could probably talk about this offline, but I think you might be talking about like the codes and stuff like that you have to do on a per basis listing. As of right now, go ahead, Eric.
You can still set the default radius at a global level for one of those. Obviously, if there's a unique code per listing, then you're going to have to go to each of those listings to set them. But you can also reach out to us and we can see if we can help you with some kind of import to make that more seamless. But we are coming up on the end of time, Justin. So let's reply back to the rest of these, after the meeting. And is there anything else we wanted to add on here?
I think we're good.
Awesome.
No,
Thank
just
you, everybody.
appreciate everybody. Thank you.
Excited to show you all of this, and we've got more coming. We're always working to improve upon things and stay at the front edge. So have a great day, everybody. Thanks for your time.